Well, good afternoon and welcome to East Brunswick High School football. Hi, I'm John Meggiolaro, being joined by Jim Allinder and Phil Hill for an afternoon game between Perth Amboy and East Brunswick. And I don't care what anyone says, this is what high school football should be all about, quite honestly, but that's my opinion. But let's talk about East Brunswick Perth Amboy. Jimmy, East Brunswick 5-1. Their thoughts are on state playoffs, obviously.
Oh, obviously, and this is a beautiful, actually September day is what we should call it because the weather is just gorgeous today. Yeah, that's where they have their sights set on. East Brunswick is increasingly improving by each passing week. We've seen it in the games that have been televised, blasting out teams quickly, efficiently. The quarterback, Mark Neary, is getting more confidence. Their offense, which was a little bit of a problem earlier in the season, is starting to become more of a factor. The defense has never been questioned, and they are really cranking it up now. They're going to be playing a Perth Amboy team that, as Phil is going to allude to in a second, has a couple of question marks. They did win their game last week, but we'll let Phil talk about that. But as far as Perth Amboy as an opponent to East Brunswick, I think they're going to have the same success as they've had in previous weeks. They're going to jump out early. I don't see the Panthers offering too much of a problem.
And Phil, when we talk about Perth Amboy, first of all, we talk about Jerry Janczek, who is the head coach of Perth Amboy, formerly a coach at East Brunswick. But there's always been a history, East Brunswick, Perth Amboy. Perth Amboy has upset him a number of times. They always come in and play him tough.
Well, if you want to put things in perspective, John, we talked last week about J.P. Stevens, the fact that in the last 5 years now, the Bears have beaten J.P. Stevens. If you do the same thing with Perth Amboy, it's been 2 out of 5 years Perth Amboy has won. So Perth Amboy can surprise. For Jerry Janczek and his Panther team, it's a good news, bad news situation. The good news was last week they felt that their wishbone was finally coming around, that the young players were finally adapting to the wishbone, and the bad news is that they lost their starting quarterback, Chris Janeo. He's out this week and will not play due to an injury. They've also have another starter, another halfback that will not play for other reasons. So just when Janczek was getting things together and whatnot, different things will start to come about. They have 8 juniors starting on offense and 8 juniors starting on defense, so they are a young team. Yeah. But as we know, Perth Amboy, when they play the Bears, they can make things happen.
They can make it tough, and nothing sweeter for Jerry Janczek would be, or for him would be, to come away with a win here.
Exactly.
Well, that's it. A beautiful autumn afternoon, Saturday afternoon here at J. Doyle Field, and we'll be back with the start of the action in just a moment. Well, as you can see on your screen, and what has become a tradition here at East Brunswick High School is to introduce the seniors and their parents. And as we get going, number 88 is Dan Armenio with his mom and dad. And I have to mention that we do not have a program in terms of the parents. So I'll mention the players, and my assumption is at this point that it is their parents with them. 86 is Frank Barbera. Number 20 walking out is Anthony Billings. Behind Anthony Billings, I'm trying to make it, that's Ian Cairns. Yeah, they're moving quick, and
That's 24, I believe.
24.
Okay, we don't have a number.
We don't have a number on that gentleman. Behind that individual is R.J. Davis and his parents.
Okay, I'm sorry, that's number 2, Mike
Castaglio.
Okay.
Okay, and then R.J. Davis. Right. Behind him is that Corey Foreman, number 76. 28 is Tom Gierman. 32 is Sheldon Gonchar. And you see them, they'll be moving to the center of the field, and they'll be facing the home stands. Mark Hoyt, number 30, walking out. Number 63 is Jim Kale.
It's been a fine addition this year.
44 is Scott Kammerer and his mom and dad.
All-state candidate.
Yes. Number 52, John Lano. Bill Nadonley, number 78, with his mom. Chin Yen, number 85. And Chi's a little ahead of his mom there. Ray Offenberger, I'm sorry, number 6. Number 12 is Van Papadopoulos. Following Van is number 50, Matt Pazinko, his mom and dad. Number 42, Mike Pilato with his mom and his brother, Tony. Matt Skirby, number 60, and his mom. Number 9, Jason Swire. Number 11 is Jimmy White. And last one, number 92, Steve Zins. These are all the seniors this year, and we wish them well. They've provided us with some great thrills over the last several years, and it's really a nice tradition.
And hopefully this may not be the last time that the Bears have a chance to play on their home field. If they can earn a second or first seed in the state high school playoffs, they will get that home field advantage.
Jimmy, what's the status on that as we watch the team, East Brunswick, come out anyway?
You had to ask, huh? Well, at this point in terms of standings, my understanding is that Trenton has a 6-0 record,
right,
and the top position in terms of power points. And they are followed by Middletown South, which has a 5-0-1 record and slightly less power points. I think we're going to have the national anthem, John.
All right, we're about ready for the national anthem. You can see at the center of the field and stretching across are the seniors and their parents. And Perth Amboy is coming on as we listen to our national anthem.
What so proudly we held at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight, o'er the ramparts we watched with so gallantly streaming, and the rockets red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the lands of the brave and the home of the brave?
Jimmy, you were talking about the state playoff situation.
Right, exactly. We mentioned Trenton and Middletown South. East Brunswick is the third team with its 5-and-run record in terms of power points, followed by, I think, Edison, which East Brunswick
Right.
beat earlier in the year. Manalapan was the fourth team, but they dropped a game to Neptune last week, so they dropped down to 5th. Hunterdon Central won last night. They're in the thick of it, 6th. And Saraville, which had an outside opportunity, lost to Edison in a Friday night game. And so at this point, East Brunswick is in the 3rd seed, but in a position to move up. So, and a lot depends on Trenton being able to maintain that top position. I think Middletown South is going to win its 2 remaining games. East Brunswick has this game with Perth Amboy, and then next week they'll be playing at Madison Central. We'll be bringing that game. And that wraps up state qualifications. So we'll have to see what happens.
So in effect, the Saraville game will have no bearing on the state playoff situation, which is the last game for East Brunswick. Well, we see the captains for the Bears going out. That's Chin Yen, number 85, Scott Kammerer, number 44, Matt Pazinko, number 50, and number 60 there on your screen, Matt Skirby. They're out meeting the Perth Amboy captains. Beautiful afternoon here at J. Doyle Field, ready for the East Brunswick-Perth Amboy game. The Bears come in 5-1, Perth Amboy 2-4, and really trying to turn around a history of football tradition at Perth Amboy. And Jerry Janczek has been in the post about 3 years now, right, Phil?
3 years exactly, right.
And I think both Phil and Jimmy will remember some of the dynasties at Perth Amboy High School. We've talked about it in the past. in terms of football, basketball, baseball.
Yeah, football, you have to go back a ways. They really
Yeah.
haven't had a consistently winning program, but they, as Phil mentioned, have that ability with its skilled players to come up with the game that can do a good quality opponent in, and they've already played well in the past against East Brunswick, as we mentioned, right here on this field. They
Yes.
knocked off the Bears in what is admittedly a down year. It looks like East Brunswick is going to receive, Phil and John.
East Brunswick will be moving right to left on your screen. They're in the dark green home jerseys, Perth Amboy in the white. And weather is just beautiful. Nothing to be concerned with there.
It's just a great day, and you said it at the top of the show, John. Night football's a lot of fun, but you can't beat a fall afternoon that feels like summer for a good football game.
And before we get going, I want to thank Mr. Paul Tenora for providing Phil, Jimmy, and myself with a very comfortable green seat cushion. Compliments of the East Brunswick High School Quarterback Club, and we thank Mr. Tenora and the members of that club for their ongoing support and for the seats.
Well, we're going to have an opportunity, John, to see the special teams unit, which has been a major plus for the Bears this season. They've turned a couple of long gainers in. Some touchdowns have been run back. We've seen that reverse work a number of times. This is really a quality unit from the top right down to the end zone.
Well, the Bears will put R.J. Davis, number 1, back deep, and they want the ball in his hands.
And kicking off for the Panthers is Noel Diaz, a freshman. Number 81, they just brought him in this week.
Freshman.
And you notice that Varnell Johnson is not as back as deep as he normally would be, so they don't expect him to kick it too far. Let's see what happens.
Here we go. It is a short kick. Fielded at the 32 of East Brunswick. And let me see who came up with that. Number 20.
He's limping.
And that's Anthony Billings.
Boy, that was a short kick, obviously.
Well, it's a young freshman. They just brought him up. Matter of fact, at the beginning of the game, the coach said, yeah, we're going to go with Diaz. He's kicking all right now. So this is his first varsity kick.
That turned out to be a safe kick.
Well, the Bears have great field position. It's spotted at their own 41-yard line. 1st and 10. Neary hands off to Nien right up the middle. And Nien, after shugging off a few tacklers, breaks into the clear.
And Nien's been doing that pretty much this year. The first person that hits him very rarely brings him down.
Pickup of, let's call it 6.
And if that offensive line for East Brunswick can do the job it's been doing in the last couple of weeks, East Brunswick can pretty much stay on the ground this afternoon.
Ball spot at the East Brunswick 47. 2nd and about 4. Neary calling signals. Plato in motion. Yen again. Puts his head down, and he's got the first down into Panther territory.
Fine blocking up front on the left side there, particularly this time.
And I tell you, with young teams, it happens so often. Young Chuck's team, they're getting there to the ball, but they're not making that tackle. And getting there is not enough. You got to be able to make the tackle once you get there.
All right, 1st and 10 for East Brunswick at the Perth Amboy 46. Papadopoulos wide to the right. Wishbone formation. This is Johnson. And Johnson picks up 4 yards.
His first carry. Mentioned the offensive line blocking ahead. Matt Pazinko is number 50 over top of center. And John Leno, number 52, is at one guard with Jim Kale, number 63 at another guard. 60, Matt Skirby, massive player.
Second.
I'm sorry,
No,
Bill.
go ahead.
I just want to finish out with Bill McDonnelly is the right tackle.
2nd and 6 from the Amboy 42. Johnson, big hole, he's in the open.
Nice cut.
He gets to the outside. And he's taken down near the 20 of Perth Amboy. 1st and 10 East Brunswick.
That was a fine run, but notice that right cut. He had to hold up on that, and that caused the defense to be able to get back.
And Dennis Johnson, an outside linebacker, number 45, if he's not there, when Johnson cuts back, Johnson's gone. I thought Varnell would stay to that outside and keep going.
Ball spotted just short of the 21-yard line. Davis and Papadopoulos wide left. Pilato crosses the 20, but not much more.
And Charles Smith, the one of the very tough linebackers for Perth Amboy. Number 44.
We're in the first quarter. No score yet. East Brunswick, first offensive series for them. And they've moved the ball well on the ground. 2nd and 9 from the 20. Neary gives it inside. That's Nguyen. Gets to the 15-yard line.
Well, he just plows forward. Once he gets past that line of scrimmage, he always seems to be able to carry a linebacker or a defensive back with him.
You're right, Jim. Ray Santos holding on for dear life on the tackle, number 61.
Nguyen picks up about 6 yards. Let's call it 3rd and 4. Ball right at the Perth Amboy 15-yard line. Neary looks, drops. Looking over the middle, throws it. He's got a man, Johnson, and it's intercepted in the end zone. Number 45 for Perth Amboy. That's Dennis Johnson on the interception.
Probably ill-advised, Phil. What do you think?
Well,
he really didn't have a receiver to throw to.
Well, he had someone open. The pass just wasn't on, Jim. And matter of fact, thrown right to the Perth Amboy receiver. And a big break for the Panthers, which they needed because the Bears were driving down there. Surprisingly so that they're picking up good yardage on the ground that they went to the pass.
I was a little bit surprised myself.
Ricks is the quarterback, number 1. Perth Amboy uses the wishbone, and we have motion. The guard left side jumped for the Panthers, so that'll move him back.
And you see Ricks at quarterback. Ricks has played the quarterback 4 games earlier in the year, but recently was switched back to one of the running backs, and because of an injury to the starting quarterback, Christian Ayo, he's back in there at quarterback.
First and 13. Ball inside to Johnson.
And
Go ahead, Phil.
And I'll tell you, if you look at the Panthers formation for the wishbone, slightly different from the Bears in that they're a lot closer to the line of scrimmage. The Bears line up a lot deeper. A lot tighter.
Let's call it 2nd and 9. The ball spotted at the Perth Amboy 7. Ricks pitches back. Nowhere to go.
Ooh.
That was Ramirez, number 20, and he was nailed hard.
I'll tell you, Matt Pazinko coming in really laying a lick on him.
Got an East Brunswick player hurt. Can't get his number quite yet. But Amboy very hesitant to put the ball in the air quite naturally inside their 10-yard line. But it seems that if they're going to have any success, it's going to have to be at least trying the pass.
Looks like Steve Zins,
Yeah, Zins
number
is down.
92. Phil Hostler working on him. You can see Steve is sitting up.
Zins looks like he got nicked.
And you look at Steve Zins, one of the very valuable players on that Bears defense. He leads the team in sacks by far. He's just a very aggressive young man, tremendous speed, and most of his tackles are behind the line of scrimmage.
I don't think we really thought that Zins was going to be the player that he's turned out to be.
Well, he's developing to a super player.
Steve is up, and he'll come on to the sidelines where Phil Hostler will take a closer look at him. Perth Amboy lost 2 yards on the play. So they're facing a 3rd and 12, the ball on their own 5-yard line. Ricks goes into a shotgun formation, Phil.
With trips.
Look at this play.
3 receivers to the right. Ricks rolls to his right, looking, steps up, and he gets maybe back to the original line of scrimmage, but it'll bring up a 4th down, and Perth Amboy is going to have to punt it away.
And of course, Scott Cameron in on the tackle.
And it was an option for Amboy. Ricks could have thrown it, decided to run it. Credit to the East Brunswick defensive backfield for covering the what seemed to be about 4 or 5 receivers out there.
Okay, and Ricks is the punter for the Panthers.
He's right back at the edge of the end zone. Gets a good snap. And gets the kick away. Pilato, fair catches. And East Brunswick will have it in Panther territory at the 27-yard line, to be exact.
And this looks familiar. East Brunswick once again getting tremendous field position. They did it all last week against J.P. Stevens, and they're picking right up where they left off.
No score with 6:30 left here in the first quarter. East Brunswick was moving and had a ball intercepted in the end zone as they start their second offensive set. They come out with the wishbone formation. And that's Nien. And he gets down to the 20-yard line.
Good hard run and nice crisp blocking.
I'll tell you, good hard running, good blocking, and I guarantee you won't see a pass until they reach the end zone here.
Right, it's got to be long. It's got to be 3rd and long before East Brunswick needs to put the ball up in the air. They really are getting nice chunks of yardage on the ground.
Nien picks up 7. Let's call it 2nd and 3 from the just about the 20-yard line of Perth Amboy. Neary pitches to Johnson on the outside, turns the corner, needs a block. He gets it as he's taken out inside the 10-yard line. First down, East Brunswick. First and goal.
R.J. Davis throwing the block that was able to, Johnson, to get about 4 or 5 more yards.
I'll tell you, you like to see that when your wide receivers are out downfield throwing blocks and whatnot. Varnell Johnson showing good move. Also put his head down at the end there. You know, he knew that he's going to be tackled. He sort of laid the hit on the would-be tackler.
First and goal for the Bears. Ball spotted at the Perth Amboy 8-yard line. Papadopoulos wide to the left.
Ooh, wow.
And Johnson, I believe, on the carry. I'm sorry, Pilato, and he didn't get far at all.
I'll tell you, Pilato was nailed. Joe Marney, number 55 there, and really laid a lick on Pilato.
Second and goal from the 10. In fact, he lost 2 yards. Two receivers wide left for East Brunswick. And timeout Bears.
Okay, Neary looked around, saw something he didn't like, and did the smart thing, called timeout. I think they had one. They were short one man, that's what it was.
I noticed Johnson came out on that play and nobody came in. But regardless, and you see Marcus Borden talking to his team. He's wearing shorts today, as well he should. I don't think he should have worn them last Friday night. We were freezing out here, if you remember. He's going to wear them for the rest of the year, he tells me.
We got a little more information. I understand that Marcus may have to have surgery again after the end of the year. So it's really as a precaution he's been wearing that knee brace. We've been teasing him a lot about it, but he's wearing it for a purpose.
Well, I certainly understand the knee brace. I don't understand the shorts last week, but today is a perfect day for him, though.
It is. And at this juncture of the season, with East Brunswick breezing along with a 5-1 record, Marcus Borden, quite a amiable person to talk to these days. Seems to be liking to talk to the media. We had a nice session after the game last Friday night against Woodbridge. He was spreading around all the accolades to the offense and defense, as well he should.
All right, second and goal for the Bears from the 10-yard line. No score, 5:10 remaining here in the first quarter. Here he puts Pilato in motion. Inside to Nien. Nien to about the 1-yard line.
Boy, it really wasn't anything too fancy about that. It's just straight up the middle running.
Straight up the gut there. Good hard running by Yen. And if the Panthers aren't able to stop this type of running, we're going to see a very quick game because you're going to see a lot of ball control eating up yardage on the ground, and the game's going to go by rather quickly.
Nien again for the score, East Brunswick.
Boy.
1 yard out.
Right, following the blocking of Pazinko over top of center, but give the guards Leno and Skirby and Donnelly and Kale.
That whole front line, and Chi Yin with his 3rd touchdown of the year.
Ian Cairns on for the extra point. Good snap, kick is up, and it's good. And East Brunswick goes out to a 7-0 lead with 4:27 left here in the first quarter.
East Brunswick kicking game has improved markedly as the season has gone along. I know there's a few problems with snapping from center, but the timing seems to be down from the center holder and kicker, and that was just a nice point after.
Well, Jim, we talked about it in the last few weeks, and we really noticed that the offense is coming around. And I tell you, you got to like its timing and whatnot. They're getting ready to peak and whatnot. And that's what they're going to have if they are going to be in the playoffs and whatnot. They cannot rely on just defense. They're going to have offense doing some damage as well. And you see they're getting it together. They really are.
I think the point to mention regarding the playoffs, this is an extraordinarily warm day, but I don't think we can expect this weather to continue. And as the November and in the playoffs, December weather comes, you need a reliable ground game because, as we've seen in years past, Brian Forte, for all the great passing ability that he had, really couldn't do anything in the playoffs because of the wind and the cold. This is a reliable ground game with excellent blocking and running.
All right, the Bears ready to kick it off. Barrick, and whistles are blowing.
That whistle may have occurred before the kickoff.
Apparently, yeah.
The flag's over on the 40-yard line, so you have to think East Brunswick was offside.
Offsides, you're right, Jim. So they'll move him back, and we'll do this all over again.
So it's Varick, the sophomore, who launched with the wind against Stevens a week ago. He launched about 3 or 4 of them into the end zone. He doesn't have that advantage today, obviously.
Well, he appeared to be trying to kick a line drive, perhaps to keep it away from the Perth Amboy's receivers. Let's see.
Ricks and Aracena are back deep for Perth Amboy. This is going to be Ricks. He feels it at his own 20. And he slips and he's down right there at the 31-yard line. Looked like he had a little running room, Phil.
He had some running room, and you got to wonder why he slipped. I mean, the field's, it's a beautiful day. Field's not in bad condition. He should have his spikes, shouldn't be worn down. I would hope not.
And Zins is back in the game, by the way. The player that ran the opening kickoff, Anthony Billings, is on the bench with a ice wrap around his left ankle.
And it's a good time to mention that Mark Wilskill's not playing today neither. He has a rotator cuff injury and will not be back till next week.
All right, Ricks brings them out in the wishbone. 1st and 10 from their own 32. Perth Amboy trails 7-0. Ricks is going to put it in the air.
Here they
being
come.
pressured.
Here they come.
And that's it. He'll lose yardage. Number 83 on the tackle for East Brunswick.
Dave Dixon on the tackle there. And East Brunswick, the Bears are going to put pressure all over you. As you can see, Ricks is an athlete. He used some of his athletic ability to get away temporarily, but that swarming Bear defense is just too much.
Boy, we've been calling those names all the time. Now, is there a timeout? I guess
Gary
there is.
Janchek has called a timeout, and he's hot. He jumped in that huddle like man possessed.
Well, Jerry, he's probably giving them a piece of his mind because, quite frankly, they don't even appear to be getting token blocking at this point. He's got to have some blocking if things are going to work. His quarterback has to have some time, and that offensive line isn't able to give it to him right now.
Right, East Brunswick came charging in there, and to Amboy's defense, I think East Brunswick has been pretty much doing it against every opponent this year.
Phil, you and I had an opportunity to see Edison Saraville last night, and I can't help but think that East Brunswick may be seeing that Edison team again.
Edison looked awfully good, particularly that first half. They're just a big physical team, good running by their backs, and a new dimension. This tight end, John.
Yeah.
Oh, what? Probably the best I've seen this year, and they're going to have to be reckoned with.
All right, Ricks brings him out. 2nd and 13 from the 27-yard line. He's got trips to the right from the shotgun. Ricks being pressured by Zins. It's a screen.
Ooh, no flag.
And Pazinko gets away with one on Johnson.
I'll tell you,
He sure did. He hit him early.
No flag. I thought Matt might have been in there just a fraction too soon on that screen. He played it perfectly. And while we're talking about Pazinko, if you look, his statistics defensively aren't quite like some of the other players, but his job is to maintain, police that middle, stay home, and let nothing break, and he's been doing a super job at that. And again, a screen play, and he's right there.
3rd and 13 for the Panthers, again in that shotgun formation. Ricks Pitches it to Johnson. Johnson gets to the 30.
Ooh.
But not much more, and so Perth Amboy will be forced to punt.
Boy, they're having a difficult time.
They're
really.
going to have a difficult time. Jerry Youngchuk said earlier that he knows it's very difficult to run against East Brunswick anywhere up the middle. So what they're going to have to try to do is either get their trips going and get something going to the outside, or spring something with their individual talent to the outside. And they haven't been able to do that neither. So it could be a very long day.
All right, Ricks is the punter, but he may throw it up here too. You never know. Perth Amboy from their own 30, 4th down. Here's the fake.
Called it, John.
Ricks looks. He's got a man, and it's caught. First down.
Oh,
they're saying out of bounds.
Wow.
Well, I'll tell you, fantastic catch by the young man. He was hit. Apparently had a foot. He was hit and slammed out of bounds, but apparently he had a foot on the line as well.
Aracena, number 12, the receiver. It looked good from up here.
And you called it, John. And the point is, Perth Amboy knows they're going to have to do something. They can't give up too many opportunities. A smart move to try it there, and it just didn't work out.
Well, what it does is give East Brunswick excellent field position on the Perth Amboy 30. 1st and 10. They lead 7-0 with 3:20 left here in the first quarter. Neary looks. He's going to go deep. He's got a man, Davis. And Papadopoulos got in front of Davis somehow. You had 2 receivers in the same area.
You're right. You never want to have that, John. But you got to give Alex Aracena credit, too. He was right in the middle of both of them and made a fine defensive play.
So, East Brunswick going for it all on the 1st down. And that opens up the running game even more now.
2nd and 10. Neary
lots of room
on
there.
the option. He's going to keep it. Steps up. Flag is thrown. Neary's got enough for the 1st down, but we'll see what they
I'll tell you what it's
call
all
here.
about. R.J. Davis did a clip. A couple flags went flying in that direction, and you just can't hit the man in the back. And he also tried to hit him from down below.
And that's the call. Blocking below the waist.
That's a hold.
Holy.
Yeah.
Okay.
First one.
You can take your choice on that play, really.
So that'll move the Bears back. They'll keep it at 2nd down.
And it's marked off from the point of the foul, and East Brunswick had almost achieved a 1st down, so it's going to really be a net loss of about 2 yards on the play.
Now it's closer to 4, so let's call it 2nd and 14 now for the Bears. It'll be at the Perth Amboy 33-yard line. Arminio wide to the left. Little counter inside with Pilato. He needs a block, and he's got the corner of the end zone.
He had a cut.
Mike Pilato, great cut. And he goes 32 yards for the score.
All Mike Pilato needs is just a little bit of daylight. He utilizes his speed and cutting ability. He's built low to the ground, and he sprung himself loose. He really didn't even need that last block, but he got it.
And that's Mike Pilato's 3rd touchdown of the year. Just a fine run by the young man.
So you can see he saw the whole field in front of him.
Clearly.
And made a nice cut to the outside for the score. And Cairns for the 14th point. And we're still in the first quarter. Flag.
Well,
and we're going to have a procedure against East Brunswick.
I think Cairns was moving on that play.
He was.
Is he allowed to do that, Phil?
No, he isn't.
Okay. I do want to mention the holder for East Brunswick. We haven't this year. And it's Bruzang.
Borden's yelling that he thought it was good.
I don't understand.
Some confusion here.
Marcus is yelling, that was good, and I just don't understand what
doesn't make any difference whether it's good.
It's the penalties against your team.
So East Brunswick will get a second shot at it. And in particular, Ian Cairns will get a second shot for the 14th point.
Sort of like a 25-yard field goal here.
I didn't think it was good, quite honestly, at least from this angle.
What's the point, though? I mean, the penalty is against your team.
Well, if it's a 5-yard penalty, let's see where they're going to kick this from. This is
a lot of confusion here over an extra point. And the referee saying, let's do it. So Cairns finally gets it through. And it's 14-0 East Brunswick with 2:56 left here in the first quarter.
And they were able to correct the mechanics on that one, and good extra point.
Well, I'll tell you, a gamble by Jerry Youngchuck. I thought it was a good gamble at the time, considering the way things are going. But it has resulted in a short drive for the Bears and 14-point lead.
Shades of last week, gentlemen?
Yeah, thinking the same thing.
Right, jumping out quick, early, let the defense do the job. East Brunswick could afford to go to a more conservative offense if they'd like.
All right, Varick will kick it off. Ricks and Aracena are back for the Panthers. We're still in the first quarter here. Varick, good kick. It's going to send Aracena back to the 2-yard line.
Almost to the goal. Look at Johnson in there.
Aracena trying to get to the outside, has no blockers, however. Crosses the 15 and stopped at about the 17.
Cornell Johnson was the player that got his arm on Aracena and just enough to slow him up and let the rest of the defense do the job, and starting the team under what, on 18-yard line? That's a fine special teams play.
And they've been doing it all year, Jim.
Ball spotted on the 17. Perth Amboy has been in the hole all afternoon.
Well, they really have. They have negative yardage from what I can see.
From the wishbone, and offsides, Aramino, I believe.
Well, this is something that occurred last week, if you remember.
Arminio, I'm sorry.
Yes, the defense was a little anxious, and talking to Borden, he was a little bit concerned about that, but you can't fault a defense as aggressive as East Brunswick's.
Well, you can't fault them, but I tell you, when you get further down in the schedule, particularly in playoffs and whatnot, you cannot use those type of penalties, and you got to start disciplining your team, having your team have more self-discipline before you get to that point, because it will hurt you later on.
All right, 1st and 5 after the 5-yard penalty from the 22. Ricks pitches outside to Aracena. Aracena looks like he has enough for the first. We'll see.
I tell you, young players. Aracena cut up, played well by the Bear defense, but if he would have stayed to the outside, he would have picked up much more yardage.
First down, Perth Amboy.
And that is their first.
And Jerry Youngchuck, as I said before, says he knows he has to go wide. He has to go wide and hopefully some passes.
We have 2 minutes remaining here in the first quarter. Bears on top, 14-0. And motion on the part of Perth Amboy.
And that just complicates things for the Panthers. The yards are coming hard as they are. To start back 1st and 15. Phil, you say they have to go wide. That means they have to go against Zins and Dixon.
Well, I'll tell you, they have to go wide, but I'll tell you after this play, a little problem with that.
All right, 1st and 15. The ball now on the Perth Amboy 23. Ricks trying to get it outside. He does same play to Aracena. And Aracena has nowhere to go.
Face mask.
Yeah, they're going to call Johnson on that. He was a little too aggressive, and really wasn't necessary.
So 3 plays, 3 penalties.
Yeah, that's a flagrant face mask, so that should be a 15-yarder.
And it'll bring with it an automatic first down.
I'll tell you, see them going wide, and most people will tell you that the quarterback, like in most offenses, is the most important player for the wishbone. But I tell you that fullback, if you don't have a fullback that can draw things in tight, and if they don't respect your fullback, that initial dive, then they're going to be able to cut off everything else. So you got that initial dive has got to be what they respect first.
From the 40, Perth Amboy. Rick stumbles, looks for his man, throws it, and it's complete to number 7, Acosta.
And you see the Amboy's coming out with all sorts of things, but not giving that ball up the middle.
And they'll pick up 6. Second and about 4 as they're getting close to midfield, their best field position of the afternoon.
They look like they're getting a lot more comfortable. I tell you, again, their formation for the wishbone is just looks so much different from the Bears. Look how tight and close up they are.
55 seconds remaining first quarter. Ricks has it. He's going to pitch it. He does.
Wow, great play.
And drop for a loss is Ramirez.
Is that Johnson on that?
Arnell Johnson, number 19.
Coming up quick and making a super tackle.
Well, he's really become a fearless player, Phil. We thought he was a little tentative in his sophomore season. Well, he's just really come to the fore and is playing with reckless abandon this year.
Well, he has a lot of heart. He does hit hard for his size and is rather aggressive as well.
Of course, he's blessed with that natural speed of his.
This should be the last play of the quarter. A long quarter it's been. Ricks drops back, looks over the middle deep. He's got a man, and it's dropped.
In his hands.
Acosta drops it.
Kind of a floating pass.
A floating pass. Mike Pilato right in there on the coverage, but Acosta did have it in his hands, not able to hold on to it. Just a step ahead of the defender.
It's the 4th down again, John, and they're probably in a position where they may want to try again to go for the 1st down.
Well, with Ricks back there, anything is possible. I would think they want to put East Brunswick deep with 6 seconds left. Johnson and Pilato are back for East Brunswick. Ricks punts it away. This will be Pilato. And they reverse it to Johnson. That'll end the quarter, and Johnson goes backward and actually loses about 10 yards down to the 15-yard line.
Number 83, fine tackle there.
Thought Varnell was going to be able to get around this end, but he came through with that tackle. 83, who is that now?
David Thompson,
sure. It was a fine tackle. Well, saving tackle for a big gainer.
That'll do it for one here at J. Doyle Field. Bears on top, 14-0. Get ready for second quarter action.
Nice crowd on here this afternoon for a beautiful day. 14-0 after one period. I'll tell you what, the offense hasn't shown any signs of letting up. And this is going to be the longest that they've had to drive from. They'll have to go, say, 85 yards starting from their own 15-yard line.
Phil, we saw a little bit of life there, though, for the Perth Amboy offense.
A little bit of life, but it's going to be hard for them to sustain it because if the Bears know you're going to be doing that wide stuff, then they're going to make their adjustments and whatnot. They're not going to even pay any attention to the middle dive at all. And that's what the Bears are about to do, and it's going to make it that much tougher for the Panthers.
All right, we're ready to get this second quarter underway. Bears will have it 1st and 10 from their own 15. They come out with the wishbone. Davis and Papadopoulos wide to the right. And that's Nien.
And a host of tacklers by the Panther defense there.
Well, on that first play anyway, Phil, it looks as though Jerry Janczek made some adjustments in terms of Nien up the middle. Like you said, you got to stop that fullback.
That's the key.
Nien picks up 3. Let's call it 2nd and 7 from about the 18. Neary to his right, keeps it, steps up, and is hit right at the 20-yard line. So he'll pick up 2. And it'll bring up a 3rd and 5 for the Bears.
And, you know, most teams have their best athlete at linebacker, and Perth Amboy is probably no exception. Number 44, Charles Smith, he is a hitter there.
Well, we'll see if East Brunswick puts it in the air. 3rd and 5. Arminio and Davis wide to the left. Little inside handoff to Varick. And Varick may have enough for the first. We'll see.
He did it on second effort there. I thought he was going down at the 22-yard line.
First down, East Brunswick.
I tell you, showing good balance, and once again, that's where that crabbing exercise comes in handy. You're almost down. You got to use your hands to keep moving, and he picked up some good yardage. First down.
Ball at the East Brunswick 27. First down, and that's Nguyen.
Wow. Ooh, puts a helmet in there, huh?
And Nguyen picks up close to 9 yards by taking it outside.
And it's a good run. Nguyen is averaging about 6 yards per carry.
Give him 10, John.
They'll give it to him. First down.
Boy, he's been looking good, Phil.
Bears have it on their own 36. They're on the move again. Neary looks, a little quick screen to Johnson. Johnson gets away from 2 tacklers.
How does he
Still
get
on his
around these
feet.
people?
First down, East Brunswick. Johnson.
You know, there was about 4 Amboy defenders converging on Johnson. He sidestepped one, bounced off another, and got himself a first down.
I'll tell you, let's see if they come back with that formation. You had Davis lined out there. You had Johnson out in the flat over there. See if they come back to that and then have Davis go right.
Yeah. Yeah, Johnson easily could have just pulled right up and thrown a pass to R.J. Davis if the defenders commit.
Ball just over midfield. East Brunswick.
Ball?
Little confusion with Nguyen.
I thought the way Neary was looking at that he might have fumbled it, but it was just a delayed handoff.
And let's give this Panther defense some credit. They're clearly outmanned, but they're hanging right in there. And that's one of the things young Chuck has says. This team has not given up and won't give up. And you got to like that.
And Nguyen picks up 2, 2nd and 8. The ball at the Panther 48. 9:04 remaining in the second quarter. Pilato runs into his own man.
Right.
Gets back to the line of scrimmage.
You're right, Chi Yin and Pilato, some mix-up there. I don't know if Yin was supposed to block or what, but there was a collision.
One of those 3rd and long situations.
3rd and 8. Neary drops back, looking deep to the right. He's looking for Davis. Ball's fluttering. And it's caught by Davis at the 10-yard line.
Well, not exactly one of your picturesque passes. However, R.J. Davis, with his athletic ability, was able to leap up and in between 2 defenders. I think the Amboy defender committed just a little too early on that, Phil.
Just a fine adjustment, and we've seen Davis do it before, where he makes that adjustment wherever the ball is and comes back and makes a fine catch.
Phil, just a comment. It looks like Neary's thrown off the back foot, and the ball is fluttering on him rather than stepping forward with it.
The ball's certainly fluttering. It certainly wasn't one of his better passes.
1st and 10, 1st and goal, actually, for the Bears, as Neary will sprint to his left. He's got some room. He can get the block on Davis.
They're going to call holding on Davis, and I tell you, I don't know if
they're going to call touchdown, but a flag is down.
Or maybe it's holding on the Perth Amboy defender Davis was trying to block.
We'll see what it is.
Holding against the Bears, and it's got to be Davis.
I'll tell you what happened was Davis is out there doing a fine job blocking, except he had to hold the block so long. I don't know if the Perth Amboy defender who was holding who, but he was sticking there, and the official was standing right on top of it and threw the flag. So, again, a penalty that hurts the Bears.
It's going to bring him back to the 11-yard line or 12-yard line, and again, negates the touchdown on that one. Boy, Neary did a nice job, just followed his blocker in. All kinds of room out there on the wing.
It'll still be first down. 1st and 12 for the touchdown. East Brunswick cannot get the first. They must score.
Watch the rollout here to the near side.
Gearman in motion. Neary rolls to his right. Looks, steps in the hole, and is nailed immediately.
I tell you, Charles Smith, once again, linebacker, outside linebacker, coming up and making a fine tackle.
So we'll have to keep our eye on this young man. He's only a junior.
He's a junior and he's a ball player. Sort of reminds you somewhat of the young man who went to Duke.
Foley?
For Perth Amboy.
Oh, okay.
Duke or Yale? Hubbard?
Hubbard.
I think he's up at Yale.
He's Yale?
Yeah,
Okay.
Second down. 2nd and goal. The ball from the 8-yard line. Neary looking over the middle. He's got a man looking for Johnson.
Oh, a little bumping there. No harm, no foul.
Perth Amboy was definitely looking for Varnell Johnson on that.
There was some bumping. It could have went either way. The officials decided not to call it at all. It could have been offensive, could have been defensive.
So that'll bring up 3rd down for East Brunswick. 3rd and goal from the 8. 7:20 left here in the 2nd quarter. Bears on top, 14-0. Neary drops. Short drop, looks over the middle.
Got to be a flag.
And the official does throw it.
Well, it's about time.
He
was really late on that.
Well, he was reaching for it. He couldn't find it, Jim, but clearly interference on the Perth Amboy defender there, knocking R.J. Davis off his feet before he had a chance to get to the ball.
Yeah, I thought the official was going to go run, get the ball, and then come back and throw a flag, but it was such an obvious foul. Should be an automatic first down.
It is.
And they're what, only going to mark off 5 or half the distance?
The ball is at the 4-yard line.
Right. Reason being is normally a 15-yard penalty, but if you're inside the 20, it's half the distance, and that's where we're at.
Okay, and Scott Cameron's in, so you can expect a run right off his tail.
Timeout, Perth Amboy. Jerry Yonchek wants to talk to his defense.
East Brunswick, we said, started this drive from their own 15-yard line, and with the help of a nice flutter pass from Neary to Davis down to the 10. That's the highlight. I believe that's the Bears' longest gain of the afternoon. Already up 14-0, guys. An outmanned Perth Amboy team at this juncture.
That defense has been on the field a long time this first half.
And boy, you hate, well, this is November, and you would not think that heat would be a factor, but I have to think that it's warm out there. It's got to be close to 80 degrees on the field.
Not only heat, numbers. Jerry Youngchuck has from 10th to 12th grade has 24 players, and the rest he has to get from the freshman rank. So they just don't have the numbers there in Perth Amboy. There was a time when Perth Amboy would start to increase the numbers for football and whatnot, and now they seem to have gone back to some of the old days. Basketball, they could easily have 24 players for basketball, no problem. But football, you got to have some numbers, Jim, as well.
Well, Perth Amboy has their backs to the wall once again, trying to keep East Brunswick out of the end zone. It'll be 1st and goal from the 4. And I would look for Mr. Nguyen here as they set up in the wishbone formation. And that's who has it. Nguyen barrels into the end zone. Did he get in?
He's just turned away at the last moment. I thought he was going to dive over.
Would have been hard to dive with 4 guys on your back. So the ball, the tip of the ball is right near the goal line.
Well, it's a matter of who you want to give it to on this one.
Neary could just fall forward and be in.
Let's see, Nguyen and Pilato both have touchdowns. Let's see if Johnson gets the call.
It's Nguyen. Touchdown, East Brunswick. That was a tough 2 feet. So East Brunswick will look to put the 21st point on with 6:41 rather left here in the 2nd quarter. Cairns blocked. Ooh. Ricks, it was number 1, blocked it.
I'll tell you.
It's his athletic ability coming into play. So it'll stay at 20-0. Still a very comfortable lead for East Brunswick, and I think the only thing they need to be concerned about is complacency at this point.
And I tell you, if Jerry Young, Chuck comes over and gives Ricks a nice pat, and when things are going like this, anything positive, you just want to accentuate, and that's the good thing about young Chuck. He knows that his team is somewhat outmanned, but he's still looking for the positive stuff and still stroking the kids that are doing positive things.
He's a good coach, Phil.
He's probably one of the most likable persons in the coaching ranks that you're ever going to meet.
So Perth Amboy will try to get something going here before halftime. They'll have 6:41 to work with. Ricks and Aracena back deep for the Panthers.
I tell you, I said it before, but you got to give a credit to that offensive line. They have really been doing the job this afternoon.
And Barrick, good kick. Aracena will let it go, and it'll go into the end zone.
Barrick is getting very familiar with that right end zone down there. Well, you can't ask for anything more than that, really.
And it'd be interesting to see if the Panthers are going to go to their trips and try to get some quick passes. They can't go deep because the pressure isn't too intense by the Bears. But if they're doing quick slants and things of that sort, they may be able to get something moving. That may be the only thing that might work at this juncture.
Well, they're spread wide, Phil.
Right.
1st and 10 from their own 20. 3 receivers to the right. Ricks in shotgun.
Whoa.
And a bad snap.
It really was.
And Ricks has nowhere to go, and that's a safety. His knee touched in the end zone. And boy, if you're Jerry Yonchek now, you really got a feel for the guy.
Well, this is the second week in a row that East Brunswick has come up with a 2-point safety. And
let's give Jim Kale, number 63, credit for being there, and he'll get credit for that safety. But it could have been worse for the Panthers.
yeah, that defense really came storming in, and that had a lot to do with the problems that were created.
Well, Perth Amboy will have the choice of either punting it away or kicking it away.
And considering they have this young freshman kicker who, on that kickoff, it didn't go very deep, they'll probably let Ricks punt it away. We'll see.
Well, Ricks is already by himself on the 15-yard line. Interesting that he's not with the rest of the team, Phil.
Well, it's interesting that the rest of the team's not with him at this juncture because they're
He's
waiting
the
for him to come out on the
anything.
field.
Rick's a little bit disgusted.
Well, Ricks will punt it away. R.J. Davis is deep for the Bears. And a good kick by Ricks. This will be Barrick. He drops the ball. Picked up by Johnson. Johnson slips at the 34-yard line.
I'll tell you what, good thing he did. East Brunswick was already starting to form a wall on the near side.
And as we know, Johnson really doesn't need a wall. And if he gets a step, he's just gone. There's a lot of slipping. I'm trying to figure out why so much slipping being done on the field.
If you get a wide shot of the field, you'll notice that there is not too much turf, grass per se, in the middle of the field, and it could be just the dirt is causing them to slip in the cleats.
Well, between soccer and football, it gets eaten up.
1st and 10 for the Bears. Johnson goes in motion. Nien on the carry up the middle. And I think one thing for sure, I don't think you'll see Marcus Borden run it up on Jerry Yonchek.
If it's at all possible.
Clock is running. Nien picks up 2. We'll call it 2nd and 8 from the East Brunswick 37. Johnson hit right at the line of scrimmage.
I tell you, and give the credit that Panther defense in the middle some credit. The last 2 plays, they've been right in there on the ball.
Right.
Ray Santos and Javier Hernandez.
East Brunswick has been able to move the ball. It's been on the big play gains. The tough yards have come in the middle.
Johnson loses 2 yards, so we're back to 3rd and 10.
And I think we can look for Mr. Davis here.
Neary, the quick screen. Johnson's got it on the left side.
Oh, he's off to the races.
And now it's a foot race. Barnell Johnson.
You know, he picked that ball up on the ground. It was like a skip.
I'll tell you.
It's like a lateral, really.
Well, no.
65 yards.
I thought the ball hit the ground, Jim.
Well, it did, but I guess it's considered a lateral if it's sideways. So therefore, it can do that. So Barnell Johnson picks up his first touchdown of the afternoon. And look at Amboy. A couple of them were laying over. It looks like a player's got a cramp there from just running, trying to pick up Johnson. But Barnell using his outstanding speed. You know, he's been averaging at least 1 long touchdown per game ever since the Edison contest.
He's the game breaker for
really
the Bears.
is.
And once again, a fine job.
So we're going to credit that as a touchdown pass or a lateral?
I think the officials probably saw it as a pass. And,
well, if they did, they missed the skip.
I thought it certainly hit the ground, but as you point out, if it's behind the line of scrimmage.
You know, right away you could see that Johnson had daylight, and it was just a matter of him outrunning the opposition, and he even left Patrick Ricks in the tracks.
Well, no one had an angle on him, and you were not going to catch him from behind, that's for sure.
Right. If you don't have the angle of pursuit, you're in trouble.
And the Perth Amboy player is up. That's... I'm not sure who the player is.
Well, it looks like Carnes is going to try to vindicate himself by notching this through. He had the last one blocked.
Well,
let's keep an eye on Ricks and see
he's
where
on the end there. Let's see
where he comes from.
Good snap. Cairns puts the foot to it.
Boy, that's a beauty. Boy, that ball went about 50 yards. He nailed it.
And that makes it 27. 29 with the safety. I forgot the safety. 29-0. East Brunswick. And we have 4:50 left here in the second quarter.
And what was it at halftime last week? I think it was 29-6, if I remember correctly. And if you're Marcus Borden, East Brunswick coach, you got to be thinking about maybe calling off the troops in the second half. Really, I mean, there's nothing more to prove at this point. I think East Brunswick could get an equal number of points in the second half if they wanted to. And Amboy is really disappointed. They're down.
They're outmanned. That's the bottom line.
That's it. I had the feeling, I really did, gentlemen, before this game even started.
Yeah, I don't think there was any secret about who was favored and why. Barrick to put a foot to it.
Let's see if he reaches the end zone again.
Ricks and Aracena back deep.
And the ball blows over.
That's the best break that Perth Amboy's had.
I don't think it's the win. I think the ball is just tired from being kicked around so much.
This kick won't make the end zone, but Aracena will field it at the 6 and has nowhere to go. He gets close to the 20, taken out by Pilato. Well, this is when you reach into the bag of tricks because you have nothing else.
And the difficult thing for the Panthers is that East Brunswick will be fully expecting them to do anything and everything they can, and that's where mistakes come into play. The Bears can just afford
Pin
to
their ears
lay
back and boom, let go.
That's right. Watch the defensive ends, Dixon and Zins, both sides. They'll be zooming in. Camera, of course, you don't know where he's coming from. And Matt Pazinko also. Looks like they called timeout.
Timeout, Perth Amboy.
I believe that's their third and last timeout of the quarter. A couple new faces coming in. Looks like Skirby is going to be playing on the defensive line.
Well, this is the kind of game where everyone wants to let me in, get me in. I want to play quarterback. I want to play in.
Right, he's going in for Kale. Phil, you mentioned Kale.
He's playing good ball.
Yeah.
And as I tell you, as you look at Jerry Youngchuck talking to his troops there, Jerry still lives in East Brunswick here and still has many friends here. And I think this is probably about the time we want to tell his wife's class, Joanne Youngchuck, who's a teacher over at Warndorfer, and I understand the kids will be up watching our Monday Night Football, that at halftime it's about time for them to go to bed. So we want to say hello to them and tell them to make sure at halftime they tuck themselves in. Okay, I still got to believe that the Bears are going to, the Panthers, again, nothing to lose. They'd like to get on the scoreboard. I think they're going to take some chances. I don't think they're going to play safe. And you're going to see them try to put that ball up to try to get something.
Well, Ricks comes out in the shotgun. They have trips to the right. Ricks does his own little screen, and then back to Ricks.
Bam. Oh, look at him avoid that tackle.
Ooh, he's still on his feet.
Wow.
What an individual effort.
Look at this go. Ricks.
Here's the race. Let's see who catches him
Ricks
up
to the end zone.
Johnson.
And he gets there.
Wow.
Johnson pulls him down at about the 5-yard line.
And a player went down for East Brunswick rather hard. Who is that?
Richards was chasing him from behind.
Was that a Doshio that?
That's Varnell Johnson that's down right now. The one who made this touchdown saving tackle.
That's the concern that you have on a play like that. Varnell Johnson, I'll tell you, he always gives 100% effort every time.
And
you got to hope this is not a severe injury.
That's right, because he's such an important part of the team, and that speaks for itself.
Someone better water down Mr. Ricks.
I'll tell you, he took off, and you saw that the Panthers had called timeout. Jerry Youngchuck put that play in. As I pointed out, he had nothing to lose. You got to come up with something, and came up with a razzle-dazzle, a big play that picked up good yardage, almost scored a touchdown.
Well, I'll tell you what, Johnson is walking a little gingerly, but it doesn't look like it's a debilitating type of injury. It looks like he twisted his knee going down. And you just don't want to lose a player of his magnitude at this point in the season, because he's going to be so important to you when you play the so-called better teams.
And you know, Phil, it's something that's I've been thinking about watching this game is that all things being even, and if you had the kind of line that Perth Amboy wish they had, Patrick Ricks is your ideal wishbone quarterback.
Well, he's very skilled. Very quick. He's just an athlete, and any team would like to have a Patrick Ricks on their team, no doubt about it. And Perth Amboy for years has always had individuals in the skilled positions and whatnot, but like you point out, the overall team balance, that line makes a difference.
Well, Perth Amboy knocking on the door for the first time this afternoon. Have it first and goal from the 4, and that's Johnson. He'll get down to about the 2.
Maybe 1 yard, really. And I don't think East Brunswick's about ready to concede this touchdown until they get it in.
Hey, not only aren't they not ready to concede, they don't want them to score. You better believe it. The Bears want this shutout at all costs, and they've just been stung, and they want to turn this Panther team back. By the same token, the Panthers want to score at all costs.
Ball spotted at the 3. Ricks himself, and he's got nowhere to go.
No. And I tell you, on the quarterback sneak, what you want to do is follow your center in and take it right in. But the center was turned back. Therefore, Ricks had no place to go. He was turned back himself.
And who plays over top of center for East Brunswick? Jay Adoshio.
So it'll be 3rd down for the Panthers from the 3. They trail 29-0.
I think you got to try one more time off tackle. If not, you're going to see Ricks fake it into the line and try to step outside, even though you're not supposed to run that type of play down there.
And I think East Brunswick jumped.
It doesn't hurt them. They get penalized, but how much can you, a fraction?
Well, they're at the 3. It'll only move it to about the 1.
So that's the second time they're guilty of the jumping.
Okay, and the Bears will be trying to fill all gaps here. They'll be trying to come in low, clog up everything, and to keep naturally the Panthers from tilting in any kind of way. On the other side, the Panthers, Ricks may be trying to not behind the center, but anywhere that he thinks there might be a slot. Take it in himself.
And Perth Amboy
give it back.
And contrary to East Brunswick being penalized a half yard, this is a full 5 yards, and this really puts
hurts.
a damper on their ability to get in. Wow, when it's not going right for you.
That'll move it out to the 6-yard line.
Okay, so now the Panthers will go back to pure wishbone, the option and whatnot. They'll fake it into the fullback. They will not give it to the fullback. Ricks will go to the outside. He'll either pitch it or keep it himself. Let's see.
Ricks gets it, pitches it back to Acosta. Ramirez, rather. Ramirez gets to about the 4.
And I'll tell you, fine defensive play. You got Camera and
I think Gehrman was in on that too.
Gehrman.
Yeah. The difficulty is that Amboy is just taking such a long time on that count that a couple of bad things can happen, and you've seen 2 of them. East Brunswick jumped off one time, but they were caught themselves, and it's very difficult for these young men to stay disciplined and stay down on the count.
Okay, Jim, I think if they got a quick pass, they're going to probably come up with it now, and it's got to be very quick.
4th down, and I think we have a delay of game against
Lord.
Perth Amboy.
Well, you had an opportunistic official who was counting, because usually that play is, they sort of forget about that.
Well, Jim, the guy's doing his job.
Yes,
if
he
it's
is.
a delay of game, it's a delay of game.
Oh, gosh. So you go back 5 yards, and they're ready to roll here.
And it's probably the same play.
It's got to be a pass, Phil.
125. Aracena will put it up. He's got a man in the end zone. Touchdown.
Right.
That's number 33, and we don't have.
I'll tell you.
Well, he just got behind Pilato and number 83.
Oh, 83. I'm sorry. Dave Thompson.
Dave Thompson, right. And Dave Thompson is 6'2", and Mike Pilato is 5'5", if that. And that was a matter of just throwing the ball over top of the defender.
But I tell you, the fine execution by the Panthers part, but you know that it's going to be a pass of some sort, and they resort. The things that have worked for them have been trickery. I'm surprised the Bears got caught on that, really.
And official timeout here. They want the ball moved over.
So it's a minute 19 left, huh? And you had mentioned they had not gone
They
for.
have not kicked an extra point this year, so everything's been a 2-point attempt.
Ricks looking for someone, puts it in the corner.
Yes.
And they're going to say it's caught.
Oh, wow.
Kind of nice play, huh?
I'll tell you, if you're Jerry Youngchuck, you're feeling good right now despite the score, because your team is, as I said, they have not given up. They've come back. They scored a big touchdown, come back with a 2-point conversion, and it shows you something.
Right.
That makes it 29-8 with a minute 19 before half.
And indicative of East Brunswick's pride on defense, they did not like that touchdown being scored on them, Phil.
Well, they didn't like the touchdown, but as I point again, Jimmy, I'm very surprised that, first of all, you had to know it's going to be a pass of some sort. With all that fiddle-faddle back there, that trickery and whatnot, it still comes down to the basic that something is going to the end zone there. Right. And Perth Amboy, give them credit, executed it well and came and was able to do it.
I think another nice thing, well, not a nice thing, but in a situation such as this where it's not really going to damage them, East Brunswick can learn from this and be prepared for the eventuality that in a more critical situation where somebody has to get into the end zone with little time left, they can be more prepared.
So Perth Amboy has something to smile about going into the locker room, but not much. They trail 29-8 with a minute 19 left before half. And we'll see if the freshman Diaz can get it down the field.
And Johnson's not back there.
Richards, number 17, will field it, drops it. Oh, and he drops the ball, and they're going to say he was stopped.
I'll tell you, a big mercy.
Good thing they blew the whistle on that one. I'll tell you what, that was picking up the ball and bringing it in for a touchdown.
I'll tell you,
would have been different.
And the thing about it is the official knew what he wanted to do. The fact of the matter, the whistle was blown after the ball was popped out, but the official was making the point that he intended for it to be stopped at that point in time.
Right. It's
You're
exactly
with me, Jim.
it.
You're with me.
Clock running down to a minute left here before half. East Brunswick still has their first team in. Pilato go in motion. Little counter inside. This is Varick. Varick gets close to the 25.
And I'll tell you, nice open tackle by Alex Arsena.
Boy, if he didn't make it, Davis was out here, or somebody was out to make the block, and Varick would have been off to the races.
Varick picks up 7. It'll be 2nd and 3. Ball spotted just at the 25.
East Brunswick not calling timeout.
This should be the last play of the half. Inside to Nien, he breaks it to the outside. He has the first down with 7 seconds.
And you're right, John. Well, let's see. Let's see what we have here. They're going to stop the clock to move the stakes up.
I'll tell you, fine run by Yin and another open field tackle by a Panther, 83, David Thompson, one-on-one making the tackle.
And they do call timeout now. So
I could see on the sideline, Varnell Johnson, ice on his knee. He's in the little golf cart that Phil Hostler uses.
right. And Billings is going to go off with him.
And that seems to be more precautionary. I think they like to ride to the school right now,
Exactly.
which isn't bad, so why walk on it? But I expect you might see him in the second half.
Varnell? You think so, Phil?
I expect you might see him out on the field to show the fans that he's okay.
Yeah, I would not think that you want to jeopardize that twisted knee by giving him some action. East Brunswick might want to. As a matter of fact, even next week against Madison Central, a team that is winless this year, unless Varnell Johnson is needed, I could easily see him being rested.
Well, Madison Central is Madison Central when it comes to the Bears. And like I said, Madison's whole season will be on if they can do something against the Bears. Which, you can't be too cautious.
All right, with 5 seconds, this should be it for the half. And Varick is still on his feet, tough runner. And that'll do it. Halftime here at East Brunswick. The Bears on top, 29-8.
And it's just a carbon copy almost of the first half of the Stevens game. East Brunswick jumping on top with an offense moving really well and the defense playing its usual game.
And we'll take a break ourselves, and we'll be back with the second half in just a moment.
Mike Pacos, Michelle Walkowitz, Dara, Amanda Breen, Matt Gold, Patricia Brewer, Rob Seidler, Mark Ellenson, Matt Runn, Mark Haney, Dave Rosenberg, Christina Samolka, Jody Mintz, Beth Katz, Deanna Amorosa, and Denise Stewart. Tonight at 6 o'clock here at East Brunswick High School.
Well, welcome back to the second half of the East Brunswick-Perth Amboy game, and East Brunswick will be kicking off to the Panthers. And Jim, how about a rundown of the scoring? East Brunswick came up with 29 points in that first half.
Okay, quickly in the first period, Jay Nen, 2 yards at 4:27 with the extra point by Ian Cairns, 7-0. Then that was followed by Mike Pilato, a 32-yard run at 2:56 left in the first period, 14-0 East Brunswick. In the second period, it was Nyen again, 1 yard out, actually a half yard at 6:41. The point was blocked for a 20-0 lead. Then East Brunswick scored a safety on a errant pass as we're ready to go here.
Barrett kicks it off. This will be Ricks from his own 10. And Ricks gets up to about the 27-yard line, and that's where the Panthers will start.
To finish out the scoring, East Brunswick was up 22-0 in the second period, and then Varnell Johnson either picked up a lateral or the officials missed it on the skip jump pass, rambled 65 yards for a 29-0 lead after Kearns kicked it through, and then finally Amboy came back. Ricks going almost all the way, but they scored on a 13-yard pass play at 1:19. 2-point was good, 29-8, that's where we are.
Thanks, Jim, as Ricks pitches it out to Johnson. Johnson crosses the 30.
And I'll tell you, the Panthers continue to pull out all the stops. They come out in the shotgun this time and pitch from the shotgun to the back standing nearby. So, again, you can expect trick plays. You can expect wide stuff and wide open stuff. The unexpected is what you can expect. You got that.
I expected to hear that from you.
Let's call it 2nd and 6 for the Panthers. Ricks, ball, bad snap on the ground, and he's going to be dropped at the 20. So a loss of about 8 yards.
That's what caused the safety in the second period. A poor snap, and Ricks had just enough time to handle this one. And East Brunswick, as it has been doing, barnstorming in from all sides.
So Perth Amboy just not able to get anything going. Bad execution with penalties have really hurt the team.
And we were concerned about Varnell Johnson's physical status, but he is in the defensive backfield.
Ricks again from the shotgun, being pressured right up the middle, throws it away. Looking for Aracena.
Phil, it was a well-conceived pattern. They had everybody flowing to this side, and then Aracena was going to the right. One-on-one coverage was just the pass wasn't there.
Right. I'll tell you, you mentioned Varnell Johnson being back in the game defensively. You want to talk about a class act for the Bears. Phil Hostler, the trainer for the Bears, came into the stands to see Varnell Johnson's father to tell him exactly what was happening to his son in regards to the injury. I thought that was nice.
Ricks punts it away. Pilato will field it at his own 48, and it'll be taken down at his 46.
Wow. There's that Mr. Thompson again. We've been calling his number all game.
An awful lot. He's a good ball player.
He's the one that caught that touchdown, if I remember correctly. And he defensively, he's been making the plays.
So the Bears are going offense for the first time this second half, with a 21-point lead, score being 29-8. And the first team stays in. Neary goes down the line. He'll pitch now to Johnson.
Great pitch.
And Johnson doesn't show any effects from that injury.
What are they going to call on this?
Holding against East Brunswick.
And it had to be on Neary, and I can't understand why.
Papadopoulos was out on the right.
Okay.
It may have been on him.
And the point again, nevertheless it's a penalty, and it's a big penalty, and I'll leave it alone after this, but they're going to have to definitely cut down on the penalties. I'll tell you one thing about Jerry Yanchuk's team. One bright spot is open field tackling. When you consider that they have 8 juniors in that defense, and that these kids are making a lot of open field tackles. Of course, they have to, because the Bears' offense is getting there, but it's nice to see, because one of the hard things to do is to make that open field tackle one-on-one, and they've been doing it.
It'll be 1st and 20 after the penalty, so the ball is spotted at the East Brunswick 36-yard line.
All right, that's the third major infraction for East Brunswick this game.
Little inside handoff counter move with Nyen. And Nyen's got about 12 yards.
You know, he doesn't concern himself with duking or this and that. He just goes straight up through the middle, and it carries people with him.
That's right. You're in my way. You're getting run over.
So it'll bring up a 2nd and about 8 for the Bears. Ball at their own 48. Neary will come down the line, throws it back for Pilato. The ball's on the ground. Johnson picks it up at the 45.
Mark was nailed on that one. Let's see how he is. He gets up a little slowly. Good pursuit from the left side.
Well, they're being scrappy. That defense for the Panthers being rather scrappy right now. They're still coming at you.
Well, anytime you put that pitch above the back's shoulder pads, it could be trouble.
That's right.
Bring up 3rd and about 11. East Brunswick from their own 45. Neary gives to Nien.
Beautiful. Ooh. Oh, just a little short.
And Nien will be short of the first down by about 2 yards.
And
it's a sneaky little handoff there.
I'll tell you, Bolivar Valera, one of the captains, number 81, making that tackle there.
Looks like Varela's going to do the kicking and the punting, John.
So Borden will give it back with 2 yards to go and the ball in Perth Amboy territory.
And they have the dangerous Mr. Ricks back deep, so let's see what happens.
Ooh, they're coming in.
Varela gets it up. Good punt. And Ricks will let it go. And tried, almost saved by Johnson.
I'll tell you, valiant effort.
Yeah, they were down there.
So Perth Amboy will start from their own 20. It's a beautiful fall afternoon here at J. Doyle Field. .7:21 left here in the 3rd quarter.
Okay, and you can bet the Bears will be pinning their ears back and coming because the Panthers have to pass to get back in this game.
Shotgun, Ricks looking, being pursued. Steps up, and it's knocked away from behind.
They're going to call that incomplete.
I'll tell you, Jay Adosho coming up with a big play there, coming from the back and stripping the ball from Ricks. Otherwise, Ricks was stepping up, ready to launch one deep down the field to Acosta, I believe, to Arsenet.
Well, I think Patrick was taking a little extra time trying to wind up, and that was all that was required for Pedosio to get in there. I almost thought that it was a fumble.
Long developing play, one thing that Perth Amboy can't afford.
Right, because they got to get with the quick stuff, John, because that pressure's coming in from that Bear defense.
2nd and 10. Back to the wishbone formation. There's a pitch here to Aracena.
Nice block.
Gets to the outside.
Ooh, what a hit that was.
And nailed by Johnson and Cameron.
Oh.
It was Varnell Johnson that made that hit upstairs.
Upstairs, Johnson and Cameron downstairs, high and low. We have a Bear player on the ground, and he's
Tommy Gehrman looks like
writhing in pain.
That's left knee of his, or right knee.
They're looking at Tom Gehrman. Appears to be a knee, from what we can tell from here.
And you just hope it isn't, because first of all, you don't want to see the injury to the young man. Secondly, at this stage of the year and whatnot, you don't want to be losing valuable players, and Gehrman is a very valuable player. And thirdly, the knee. Out of all injuries and whatnot, as far as football, nothing could be more damaging than injuring the knee.
Tom's walking off under the weight of the knee, so It certainly doesn't appear to be serious.
All right, it'll be 3rd down and 2 yards for the Panthers when play resumes. Ball sitting at their own 27-yard line. Ricks, long count, pitches it to Johnson. Johnson tries to step up, and he's going to be short of the 1st down. In fact, he didn't get to the line of scrimmage.
And again, Jay Adosho in on the tackle. Jay rounding into all-conference form right now and coming up with 2 consecutive big plays.
It was an outstanding play and an important play, a 4th down. Now for Amboy, and they're going to have to punt, looks like.
Well, it's 4th and 4, and Ricks is the punter as well as the quarterback. They've got Thompson wide to the right.
Johnson's really not that deep.
Cornell Johnson back for the Bears. Bad snaps. Ricks gets it off. Johnson will let it bounce. Now
really?
he'll field it.
Mercy, mercy, mercy.
There's that reckless abandon again.
I'll tell you, you got to admire the young man's heart, but you remember he just went in before the half with an injury. So to field that ball and to get slammed like he did, you have to have some concern.
East Brunswick will have it at their own 44.
And I think that Marcus Borden would like to push one more score in here at least to widen the margin a little bit more comfortably.
Davis goes wide right. Papadopoulos wide to the left. Neary gives it to Nien. And Nien, he's got enough for the 1st down, I believe.
Yeah, it's going to be close. They may have to measure this one.
He's short. By about the length of a football, if that.
Boy, I'll tell you what, that looks close enough to take a look at.
Well, they did. They took a quick look. Johnson should have it, 1st down anyway.
I'll tell you, it's close, and that Panther defense up the middle is starting to become very physical.
So the Bears will pick up a 1st down with 5:25 remaining in the quarter. And there's no need really to do anything more than what they're doing. Neary to the end.
It's that quick give up the middle, really just utilizing the speed of Nien right up the pipe and the blocking ability of the offensive line.
Really, Ray Santos again in on that tackle, and he's playing a heck of a game for the Panthers.
And Johnson is taking his seat. I think after that last plunge there, maybe they wouldn't play him too much more.
2nd and 8 for East Brunswick. They're in Perth Amboy territory. Pitch back to Varick. Varick, nice tackle by Johnson.
Right.
And Varick will be dropped back to the 50-yard line.
I'll tell you, I don't think I can remember so many open field tackles. And let's face it, out of necessity, because the Bears are getting into the open field, but the Panthers are coming up with a lot of one-on-one super plays.
You see a few players there. I see Gehrman, of course, is on the bench. We noted his knee injury before. This has been a game of nicks and bruises today for East Brunswick.
Neary to Nien. Nien picks up his customary 3 yards.
Santos again on the tackle.
So East Brunswick will punt it away.
I'll tell you, the Panther defense has gotten a little tougher the 2nd half.
Varela on to do the punting. Gets off a great punt.
Yeah, it really was nice.
Ricks at the 12.
Good block.
And Ricks will go out of bounds at about the 25.
Thought his knee touched the ground when he fielded that, but
Almost,
apparently...
almost not quite
yeah.
yet.
So we're going back and forth, John, in this third quarter. No scoring.
Well, a question for you. What happened to the green pants?
That is a good question.
Well, they're being saved for a special occasion, a very special occasion.
Graduation.
They actually wore them once. They wore them against Edison, I believe.
Yeah.
When they wore the white jerseys.
Well, maybe that's it. The contrasting jerseys.
Timeout, Perth Amboy, with 3 minutes left in the quarter.
So this game has come to a screeching halt.
Yes, it really has.
Well, it does appear that Amboy doesn't have the horses to fully get back into this game, and East Brunswick content to sit on the lead 29-8. They didn't really do too much imaginatively this past series, and probably won't.
Well, you know, if you look down the East Brunswick roster, there are a number of sophomores and juniors. I think it might be a good time to give them some exposure and experience, whether it be for any time later this year or, more importantly, though, for next year.
True. I hear what you're saying, John. And that's a dilemma, because on one hand, you want to keep your first stringer sharp and ready to go over the long haul when you have to. And on the other hand, you want to give your younger players some experience. You don't want to get injuries to your regulars, so it's a judgment call. It's a decision the coach has to make, and you're never quite sure when you're right. I'll tell you this here, young Chuck would love the score again, and you better believe that when he went out there, he's trying to come up with something where, and I'm sure it's more razzle-dazzle stuff, but anything to catch the Bears off balance so they can take advantage of it. Because man-to-man, they can't match up.
Not in the shotgun, though.
From the 25, 1st and 10 Panthers, Ricks drops the ball. Mr. Ricks is having a tough day this afternoon.
I'll tell you, he dropped the ball. He should have just fell on it. Could have saved himself some unnecessary hits there.
Second and 11 for Perth Amboy. 2:30 left in the third quarter. Our score is 29-8, East Brunswick. And Aracena will put it up. He's going back over to the other side for Ricks. The play, they tried that play earlier and had good results.
Well, the player wasn't there, that's for sure. Almost thought he was trying to dump it away, but you had the blockers out there for Amboy.
I'm surprised they saw against last week against J.P. Stevens that quick slant that they don't try to come up with the similar play themselves.
Well, on third down, we'll see. Hammer was almost in the backfield before the ball was.
Screen.
A little screen to Aracena.
Zinko's there, though.
But it goes nowhere.
Scott did a good job of
staying home.
Yeah.
Does his job. He is the safety valve there. Had a little help by 28. Is that Gehrman?
No, that can't be Gehrman. That's Varela.
Varela had 26. Had a little help by Varela there. They did a fine job.
Well, Pilato and Johnson will go back waiting for Rick's punt.
Should catch
He
this
gets
on
it
the
off.
fly.
And a reverse. Pilato to Johnson.
They're going to call it?
No call as Johnson is taken out of bounds at the 45.
A little belated, but nonetheless it was called.
Clip against the Bears.
And it was really an unnecessary one. And again, another major infraction for East Brunswick. And Phil, you mentioned it. This is something that could haunt East Brunswick in a big game.
All we're talking about is habits, that's all.
Yeah.
And you better best believe Marcus Borden preaches it, because no coach likes penalties. Yeah. But you got to get your team mentally prepared not to make those penalties, because in the big games, as I said before, it will catch up with you if you do, and it certainly will hurt you. And that was a clear example of a penalty that wasn't necessary.
Yeah.
that will move East Brunswick to their own 27-yard line. 28, rather.
They came into this game averaging 60 yards per game in penalties, and I'm sure they're fast approaching that right now.
Well, I can tell you they've had 4 major penalties of 15 yards or more. Well, 15 yards, so that's not counting the offsides.
1st and 10. Yen, right up the middle.
Got
Pops one
blockers out
player,
here.
puts his head down, and he gets around the 47-yard line. So a pickup of close to 20.
And Yen is limping a little bit off that one. Somebody down. Oh, is that Ricks? I think that's Ricks that's down on this. And he's holding his left leg. Boy, they can't afford to lose him. And the East Brunswick trainer, Phil Hostler, the first one to arrive.
Well, you're right, Jim. You don't like to see anyone get hurt, and they certainly can't. He is the, you remember the first team quarterback, Genoa's been, got hurt last week. Rick's filling in right now, and he seems to be seriously hurt, so it's probably a good question as who's going to quarterback the Panthers now.
Wow. Boy, when you're going deep into the well, when you're having to go with a quarterback who is normally the 3rd choice, probably hasn't made a lot of calls. Good thing East Brunswick is on offense.
The quarterback would be Acosta, number 7.
Yeah, I guess it would be. Who was out on the field defensively.
And who's only a sophomore.
Well, Jim, while we have some time, at halftime we had the privilege of speaking to Bob DeMarco, coach of Madison Central, and I'll tell you, I like his disposition. He's not down, considering you know, they've been up so long and they haven't won a game this year, but he seems to have a lot of confidence in his team.
He does. He knows that he has some skilled players. Dwight Lige, as we'll see him next week, is a quarterback who is somewhat patterned after Patrick Ricks, who we see walking off right there. A rather fast, small player. But defensively is where Madison has had the problems. They just have not been able to stop people this year. Physically, they're being dominated. And yet, he pervaded a lot of confidence in his team. And make no mistake about it, Madison Central is looking forward eagerly to East Brunswick coming to Old Bridge next Friday night.
1st and 10, the Bears. Johnson is twirled around as it gets close to midfield. Pick up maybe 2.
I'll tell you, Dave Thompson and Javier Hernandez in on the tackle there, and both of those young people have played fine games today.
Clock down to inside 1 minute. Left here in the 3rd quarter. (29-8) is our score. East Brunswick on top. 2nd and 9 as Neary pitches, and he just threw it backward. And Johnson fumbles the ball.
They're going to call
it down.
Don't see it. Don't see it at all. That ball was never under control.
And Young Chuck is beside himself.
There goes a penalty flag.
The penalty flag is probably on Jerry Youngchuck because he came on the field,
he has
threw his hat off,
to.
and he was very upset because he thought they called that ball too soon. And Jim, you were right on it. It may have been called too soon.
Well, the ball was never under control by Johnson, and there's the fumble, and so you can't blame Janchik for running onto the field on that way. So East Brunswick, well, let's see. This ball started from the 49-yard line, or the 50-yard line, and it's going to go back 15 yards. It's going to still turn out to be a loss for the Bears.
I'll tell you, this. You talk about officials baiting people. The official called the unsportsmanlike conduct and then pointed straight at Jerry Janchuk. So Jerry maintained his cool and whatnot, which is the correct thing to do. But that's sort of baiting someone who clearly hasn't had too many breaks today and was upset over certainly a very close call there. You don't have to point directly at the man.
Well, the Amboy's defense is fired up, I can tell you that.
Well, it brings up a 3rd down for East Brunswick. 3rd and about close to 20. As Nien takes it up the middle again.
Oh.
And is taken down at midfield.
And you got 4 tacklers on Yen, and he's still moving. He's just churning those legs there.
It's been a tough, hard-hitting game.
4th down. And timeout is called. Oh, I'm sorry, it's at the end of the quarter. So at the end of 3, it's still 29-8. The most excitement is centered around the yellow flags that have been thrown.
Yeah. So East Brunswick will likely punt to begin this 4th period. But boy, I'll tell you what, it's been a strange series of events here in the 3rd quarter.
And young Chuck is out on the field talking to the official right now, and he's cooled off a little bit, but he's trying to make his case. And the officials tell him, yeah, I understand your point, but you cannot come on the field. It's simple as that. I had to throw the flag.
Well, I think the official would have done well to just tell Jerry, hey, look, I think I blew the call, but what am I going to do, reverse it? Of course, we had a reversal last week, didn't we?
We did, but
on the Johnson touchdown. Oh, boy.
I think I blew the call, so let's forget it. Is that what you said?
What I'm trying to say is he's not going to reverse the call at that juncture. You can't do that.
I hear you.
Oh, boy.
Well, we're about ready to get the 4th quarter underway. East Brunswick will have possession, and they'll be punting away from midfield to Perth Amboy.
Morella's gotten off some nice kicks today.
Aracena is back, number 12, I believe. And Varela, great punt.
Boy, that's all he launched that.
Aracena from the 11.
Ooh, and that's where he'll go down.
You know, Johnson's been down there on every single punt and kickoff. He must think he's Renee Thompson from the Giants.
I'll tell you, it's probably largely because he wants to be in there. I'm sure he had an opportunity to be out on the side and take a break if he wants it, but you better believe he's asking to be in that game.
So 1st and 10 for Perth Amboy from their own 10 as we start this 4th quarter. And Ricks is back in at quarterback. And Ricks gave it to someone.
Right, and I believe that Nadonally was one of the players in there. It's something that I've noticed that Borden is doing with his defensive line is on occasion he will substitute one of their players with an offensive lineman. We've seen Skirby in there. We've seen Nadonally. We've seen Kale, I believe.
Right.
I think Leno has seen a little bit of action. And that, during the course of a game, allows your line to get a little bit of a break.
The movement by Perth Amboy. So that'll move Perth Amboy back to about the 4-yard line. And it will remain 2nd and 15 now. See Brian Tenora, number 10, in on defense, along with Richards, number 17. Smith.
Tipped by Tenora.
Yeah, that was enough to break it up.
And I'll tell you, Tenora's not totally well, but he's been in there and he's doing a fine job. He started out the year one of the leading tacklers for this Bear team, and he's recovering little by little, and he's getting roundly back into form.
I notice he's wearing that large cast on his left hand. Obviously, as a pass receiver, that's going to limit him.
3rd and 15. Ricks from shotgun. He's standing in his own end zone. He'll roll, put it up from the end zone. Nice try by Thompson.
Yeah, that was Thompson again. You know, I saw Ricks in the end zone, waiting in the shotgun. My first thought was, oh, not a center snap over his head. It was rather fast. And they'll do well to just be able to punt this ball out of the end zone.
And Ricks will do the punting, as we've mentioned. Standing from the end zone. Pilato and Johnson waiting to receive it. Good kick. Johnson from his own 40. Perth Amboy 40, reverses it to Pilato. And Blotto taken down.
Well, that reverse has not really fooled anyone today.
I'll tell you, Boulevard Valera with a fine tackle there for the Panthers.
Open field.
So the Bears are going offense with 10:07 left in the game. And most of the first teamers are still in there. Waiting for Neary, who's tying his shoe. In the end, picks up a couple.
Boy, Yen must have carried the ball at least 15 times today. He's really been the workhorse back.
Valera and Ryson on the tackle.
Barrick inside, has nowhere to go. So bring up third down for East Brunswick.
And you can see the Bears are looking to do nothing more than just run the clock off.
Taking their time in between plays. Ball spotted at the Panther 42. Third and 9. Neary drops, looks, being pressured, and he's going to be sacked.
Ooh. Whoa. Oh! Calling it a late hit, but I'll tell you, they're flag happy today. They really
I'll tell
are.
you, while the number 55
wasn't a hard one. That was by the head official.
I'll tell you, Joe Marney had made a nice tackle to sack Neary, and then another player came in a little bit late there.
A little bit late and quite a bit light, I thought. Certainly not to merit a 15-yarder. I think they could have talked. There goes another flag, and I'm sure that's number 45 mouthing off. So this is going to result in 30 yards worth of penalties.
I tell you, I don't like it.
And it's the head official that threw
I really
the
don't
flag
like
too.
It's you know, officials have a job to do, but sometimes you get to be too much part of the game, and we've been hearing a lot about having big ears and so forth. The team is obviously getting destroyed today, and they're a little sensitive. You know, I don't get it.
Perth Amboy's called a timeout to kind of cool down the players. But you're right, Phil. Today, particularly, this official's been a little bit too much in part of the game.
And now there's a little discussion going on.
The point is, he seems that he has lost his cool instead of keeping control of the game and whatnot. And you may say keeping control of the game is by throwing flags, but the way he's doing stuff, the way he's throwing those flags are more demonstrative. When he pointed to Jerry Yanchuk's face on that other penalty is sort of inciting people, and you don't want to incite people. What you want to do is control the game and not for you to be a part of the game.
Again, it's a judgment call. You have to have an overall perspective of what's going on in the game.
And he seems to be prancing around, which is rather disconcerting. The point is, let the kids play the game and go on about it. You cannot be the show. And you guys know I'm partial to officials, but I'm calling it as I see it right now.
Well, East Brunswick now will have a first down, John. 30 yards.
Well, it was a great defensive play
that was a
for
sack
Amboy,
back there that would have caused the fourth down, too. That's the other bad aspect of this.
You are not the game. The kids are the game. Let's let the kids play.
And I would not suspect East Brunswick is going to do any more than just give the ball to Nguyen, who is the lone back.
From the 22, 1st and 10, and there's Nguyen, and he gets outside. And Nguyen down inside the 10-yard line. And he's had a great day, we must say.
He really has. I'm sure he's close to 100 yards, if not well over.
Ball spotted at the 9. It'll be first and goal for the Bears. Clock down to 8:20. Fourth and final period, Yen again.
It's very appropriate, John. Yen again.
Ball just shy of the 5, say the 6-yard line. Second down, and now a timeout, East Brunswick.
And you're seeing the first team essentially being removed here. Nice gesture on the part of Borden. New quarterback Jimmy White will be coming in.
Well, it's just, at this juncture of the game, it's time to do it. But also, you got to remember, Jerry Youngchuck coached under Marcus Borden. They are good friends. I don't think Marcus liked any more what he saw happening with the officials.
That's the point.
Than Jerry did.
You're right on that one. And I think that's probably one of the reasons why he decided to do this.
To say, hey, listen, these kids are playing their heart out. You don't have to pour water on a drowning man.
And don't think Jerry Youngchuck won't remember this move, too, in the future. I think that's the type of camaraderie you want to build among coaches. Rather than being adversaries, you want them to be working together as a group. And this is a very nice gesture on the part of Borden.
All right, White is at the helm now for the Bears. Varela, and he's going to lose a yard.
And to the Panthers' credit, they have not given up. I mean, really, they've been playing aggressive. They've been some good hard hitting up and still, and that's a credit to Jerry Youngchuck. And you see another injury for the Panthers, another player going off the field.
A lineman is going off. Looks like he's got poked in the eye or something.
Third down now for the Bears, 7-yard line. White will sprint to his right.
Looks like he's going to get in.
And he'll step in the end zone.
Hey, all right.
Jimmy White in from 6 yards.
Hey, tell you, and you got to like that.
Yeah.
Jimmy White, who is quietly sat on the bench waiting his turn. He was, as we all know, he was in a battle for the starting quarterback job at the beginning of the year. Nearly won out. White did not complain, did not quit, and is ready to be in there to do the job whenever he's called on. Marcus Borden to give him a nice pat on the head, and you got to like White's disposition.
So the Bears make it 35, and Cairns is on for the 36th point.
Eng is holding.
Right through Eng's hands.
Or tried to anyway. He's got the ball. He ought to fall on it.
Well, he got help falling on it.
So it'll remain 35-8, East Brunswick.
Well, East Brunswick averaging close to 28 points a game, I believe, coming into this game. Will move the average, but in the ever since the Edison game, they've been popping in the 30s every contest.
They've been right.
I think in analyzing the game, Phil, really you can't say anything bad about East Brunswick other than the excess of penalties once again.
No, you really can't. You really can't. That's been the only thing for a few weeks is the penalties. Otherwise, they're really clicking on all cylinders.
Kind of fortunate that Madison Central is the opponent next week.
And the kick short.
That was not Vera kicking.
No, that was Jason Swire, number 9, doing the kicking off.
I'll tell you, they go 3 kickers deep. Actually 4, I suppose.
I was mentioning that the Spartans, we talked about, we saw Bob DeMarco at halftime. The coach of the Spartans will be East Brunswick will be visiting Old Bridge next Friday night. And regardless, even if Madison is 0-7, I believe, at this point, East Brunswick will not relax going into that game. They need that contest to qualify for the state playoffs, certainly. But the Madison Central East Brunswick rivalry is always something.
Really?
All right, Perth Amboy, and now we have a timeout, East Brunswick. They're a little confused.
They need an extra
man. They need an extra player. And this is what happens when you have wholesale substitutions.
So with 7:05 left in the game, East Brunswick comfortably on top, 35-8. And I just throw this out to you guys. Very easy against Stevens, very easy against Perth Amboy. The assumption is it'll be very easy against Madison Central. You can as a coach, do you get a little concerned that, hey, this is getting too easy? These guys haven't been in a scrape in some time, and playoffs are coming up. Yeah, you know, the argument that they're clicking, but are they?
I think they are. I don't think there's any question that this team has been steadily improving week by week. The defense has been playing consistently. I think they showed it once again. They had one breakdown in the big play, admittedly, but that hopefully will be corrected. And the offense has been doing its job, and the offensive line with the ground game has been the focus of East Brunswick's improvement. I think that bodes well for the future.
Ricks is going to be taken down by Varela.
I tell you, Varela just laid him down very nicely and very gently. John, I tell you, of course, the alternative is for them to be in a scrap. I mean, to be in close games with the teams that they play. They've just been far better teams than those teams, and they have no control over that. I think it's a result of them having gotten better, and I think when they get in the playoffs, when they play tougher teams and whatnot, it will serve them well.
Okay. 2nd and 16. Aracena now is the quarterback, and he's throwing it for Ricks.
Wow, was he nailed. And that easily could have been called. Boy, Ricks is still smarting from that.
That's Aracena.
Aracena.
Okay, yeah. Well, that's right. Ricks was walking off the field from that injury before.
And I think.
But they could have called that piling on, no problem.
I think Bob Varela is the one who really laid one on him.
And quarterback is walking off.
Aracena, who's been in much of the action for Perth Amboy on defense today.
Well, Acosta has come in, Phil. So one has to presume he's going to call signals this. No, let's see. It's Ricks again.
It's back to Ricks.
Oh, boy.
On 3rd down, Ricks showing some good moves and a first down.
Oh, wow.
Gets it.
Jay Adosio coming up with a big tackle again. Otherwise, Ricks is off to the races. And you don't have Varnell Johnson on the field to track him down, so a very big tackle by Jay Adosio.
It's aside from a few players, I see Pazinko in there. This is really not the first-line defense. Jay Adosio is in.
Is Varick in?
Varick is in, yes.
The only person that could have caught him. We know that.
1st and 10 from the 41. Ricks throwing
Another
it deep down the middle for Aracena. He's got it. Aracena's still on his feet, and
should be in.
They're going to say his knees hit at the 1.
Can't
mercy.
Believe it. Can't believe it.
Oh, mercy. Oh, mercy. I mean.
He was easily in.
Hey, I tell you, if you're Jerry Young, Chuck, you got to really look at these officials eye to eye when you go in and whatnot. I mean, I don't know. Perhaps his knee was down on the 1/20th
It certainly fell with the ball in the
line,
end zone.
but he certainly fell in for the end zone. Give me a break.
He didn't get one there.
Give me a break. I tell you, got to wonder, really.
Yeah.
You get a little paranoid after a while that.
Well, you hope that these types of things do not occur during an important game.
Well, the officials want to be ready for when they get in a scrap. You know, the tight game. They're making the right calls. Anyway, Ricks
gets in there.
Buries himself in for the score to make it 35-14.
Boy, there's still a lot of time, too. Yeah. 5:18 on the clock.
And, of course, the Bears didn't have their first-team defense. They're calling for Raider defense now, and I have to believe Raider defense is probably the first-team defense for the next time they go out. They don't want them to score a game.
Ricks is just going to run this one.
Ricks will roll, look for someone. If not, he'll run it. And he throws it up into the corner. And it's caught by Acosta.
I'll tell you.
Now, did we just see a flag go down?
I think so.
What was that all about?
Maybe a holding on Tenora. We'll see. I would think it's against East Brunswick. And we'll wait for the man in the white hat to tell us. Unsportsmanlike conduct against East Brunswick.
Well, it must have been something that was said. Certainly didn't appear to be any flagrant physical foul.
Wow.
Well, the field is now all in shadows. It's the fall afternoon, a beautiful afternoon starts to come to an end. This game ended a long time ago, quite honestly. Going through the motions here, Perth Amboy scoring on their second two-point conversion, so they have 16 points, but East Brunswick has 35 with 5:18 left in the game.
And with all due respect to Perth Amboy, putting up 16 points, the second touchdown, the two-point conversion, it really occurred against the second-team defense. And I'm not sure that that pass play could have been completed if the first-team defense had been in.
Be that as it may, you got to give the Panthers credit for continuing to execute regardless. Onside kick.
That certainly looks like it.
You have nothing to lose.
Nice.
Good kick, fielded by Dan Armenio.
And Armenio, you get a gold star because you did the right thing.
Right.
Got that ball, cradled it in, and went to the ground.
Went down.
So the Bears will go on offense with 5:13. And the clock now will be started. Jimmy White, who scored the last time East Brunswick had the ball, will be directing the offense.
And Borden walks on the field, so we have to assume this is a timeout. And that's what it is.
You know, not for anything, but in close games, we haven't seen this many timeouts.
There's been an awful lot of timeouts.
Not a stop.
Well, you only get so many timeouts, but it seems like between officials stopping the clock and the normal timeouts seems to be an awful lot, really.
So we'll be keeping our eyes, gentlemen, on the scoreboard, the respective scoreboards for the teams still involved in playoff action. Again, a lot of the first-round action is going to depend on how the other teams perform. And again, East Brunswick is still shooting for a home playoff berth in the first round, and they just very well may get it if they continue this way.
All right, White brings him out. And he'll take it himself up the middle, picks up 5 yards, brings it up to the 35-yard line. 2nd and 5 for the Bears.
And Santos still doing the job.
Bears will stay in that wishbone. This is Gonchar, Sheldon Gonchar, the carry close to the 40.
And stretching close to that first down.
Bring up a 3rd and 1, let's call it. Ball sitting right at the East Brunswick 40. Inside handoff to Varela.
Did he get it?
He's short.
They do.
They did?
They give it to him.
Where he's marking it, looks like he's got it.
Oh.
So 1st and 10. And the Bears will just grind it down.
Well, if nothing else, it gives them an opportunity to eat more of the clock.
Varela once again. And Varela picks up 5 yards.
And
Close
Jim,
to it.
And Jim, we had a chance to speak to Bill Munyon before the game, in retirement and enjoying retirement.
Yes, he is.
That's nice to see.
Interested spectator. He's here for every game.
Bill, longtime statistician for East Brunswick football. Retiring, and as Phil and Jimmy mentioned, enjoying it. As White hands off to Gonchar. Next week, East Brunswick travels to Old Bridge, where they will, ironically in a way, be up against the Wishbone team that really brought the Wishbone into prominence in high school football in New Jersey in particular, at least Central Jersey.
Having a tough time of it right now, but you know they'll be ready to play.
Old Bridge Madison Spartans.
And White, little trouble, still on his feet. Look at this.
Ooh.
Turns a bad situation into some positive yards. And you can imagine a little confusion with some new players coming in and out.
And they're really going through the motions now. They're even walking slowly off the field.
4th down for the Bears. Varela will kick it away. Rick's back for the Panthers. 2 minutes left in the game. Line drive. Ricks will take it at the 20, his own 20.
Oh, he should have kept on going.
And Adosio will knock him out just short of the 35.
And I tell you, Ricks, as we see him come to the sidelines here, he's not a big kid. He's listed as 5'8", 155 pounds, but
I doubt it.
he looks even smaller.
Yeah.
And I want to pass a note on to our viewers. For many years, the real person who guided and directed, particularly Sports Talk and Channel 8 Sports, Kevin O'Rourke, is in the hospital. He has been on and off for several years, and apparently is in somewhat serious condition. And we want to pass on our best to certainly Kevin and his wife Kathy, and wish him all the best. As the clock continues to move at 1:44 now, it'll be stopped with the procedure penalty against Perth Amboy. So Ricks will crank it up again. Looking, being pressured. And just throws it. Actually, there's no one out there.
No one.
Acosta, the closest one, and he was about 10 yards away from it. So that'll stop the clock with 1:36, and a few diehards remain. So it shouldn't be too much of a problem getting the car out of here tonight.
That was my first thought.
Real loyalists are here. The parents.
The parents, right. And even the second team's putting pressure on Ricks. Obviously, they know he's going to pass, but
he's got room here, I'll tell you what.
Ooh.
There he goes. He's a joy to watch anyway.
Yes, he is.
Philly's got the moves.
He's got the moves. He's a junior, and he'll be back. He just needs a little more help if some of these other younger players develop.
Yeah, it's been a problem with Perth Amboy. I was going to say, they always have their cast of skilled players, but it seems they never are able to put it all together with bodies on the line to complement those fine offensive players that they always have every year.
Ricks now looking over the middle deep.
Whoops.
And no flag. Yes, now finally one is called.
The official on top of it did not call it. The official
far side.
On the far side, way off it, called it. It was interference, but the official right there.
And the official standing on the Perth Amboy side of the field made the call. Maybe with a little help from Jerry Honchek.
Right, Mr. Varela, the guilty party.
You know, guys, we talked earlier this year before East Brunswick's first game about parity within the GMC Red Division, and in fact, it's really been Edison and East Brunswick. Maybe next year is where we'll start to see some of that parity. Perth Amboy has some young players. Saraville, we saw them last night, look pretty good. Stevens, a young team. Madison Central, a young team.
Well, what makes it interesting is graduation. Every year it does become a new year, and there's no guarantee that.
Rick's over the middle.
Ooh.
And a nice play by Varick.
Sorry, guys. What that play was going. But what's really interesting is that with the cycles being what they are, hey, Madison can be down 1 year, and next year they could have a whole total new cast. And
Yeah. And so 57 seconds remain in this contest.
And Amboy really like to push another one in.
Well, they'll do something Stevens didn't do, and that is score at least 16 points on East Brunswick. Little screen set up in the center, and the receiver actually couldn't get around his own man.
Well, East Brunswick, regardless, had it covered well.
That'll stop the clock with 51 seconds.
Okay, I think we're due for the throwback to the quarterback play. I think you can see Mr. Ricks go one way and
yeah, left side here. Look at it.
Ball thrown back to him. Let's see.
Ricks. I don't know who he was looking for there.
Got me.
He had Valera open.
Trying to dump it.
Certainly, Ricks is more dangerous with the ball in his hand than him throwing the ball.
I like his arm, though. You know,
Yeah.
he doesn't require to set up and plant his feet to get off an effective pass.
Well, effective is the term, though. He gets off the pass. How effective is the point? But you're right. He can get better. I mean, he gets the ball off easily, but it doesn't get on target. That's the problem.
Good thing we have lights here. A long 40 seconds. Ricks.
It's fourth down, right, John?
Yes, it is. He'll just throw it up and hope. Acosta's there, and it's intercepted by Richards as he falls into the end zone.
And Richards with his second interception of the year.
I was going to say, what is this?
Roughing the quarterback against East Brunswick. We should have looked at the referee before we said anything.
Well, this is sort of a late paybacks, but
yeah, really a little too little, too late.
So Perth Amboy will keep possession with 36 seconds.
And this game has gone on and on and on.
We're talking about nearly a 3-hour game.
Nearly. And Amboy with 36 seconds left, John, is going to probably get 4 cracks at it here.
Well, it'll be
all passes, unless Ricks decides to take off with it.
Ball placed on the 15-yard line. East Brunswick 15. And Ricks will try again. Being pressured, looks over the middle, tries to set up that screen, and again.
I tell you, just nobody's looking. I mean, the ball comes out of his hands rather nice, but nobody's there. Nobody remotely is looking for the ball.
Well, I think that was intended for number 12.
Naracina.
Sure, Naracina, okay.
I think you got to throw for the end zone. I mean, at this juncture, you just throw for the end zone.
Really, 4 cracks to the end zone.
Ricks will keep it. And another flag.
Stops the clock. Face mask is the preliminary
67,
indication.
67, Zemansky on the tackle.
I'll tell you, we got 23 seconds left, but we'll probably be here another 8 minutes the way things have been going.
That should be half the distance.
Should be not allowed at this point. Let's get this agony over.
I'll tell you, Jerry Janchuk wants this score. Make no mistake about it.
Oh, yes.
Just a footnote here. I see that the superintendent of schools in Perth Amboy is Frank Sinatra.
He's been there for a number of years now.
Yes, he has.
18 seconds. Ricks looking for anyone in a white shirt, and he throws it away.
On
and
his
another
back.
flag.
Well, if the pass could have been caught, I would say it was a legitimate call, but I don't think he was held that much.
Okay, 13 seconds.
Gordon is calling a timeout.
We'll be here.
Yeah, this.
I
We're not
can't
going to
believe
mark this down as one of the top officiating games we've televised. That's for sure. So another half the distance. Should bring the ball inside the 5-yard line.
It is interference against East Brunswick. So it'll give Perth Amboy a fresh set of downs here to get in. 13 seconds.
Oh, there he is.
And
They did it.
Aracena, nice catch for the touchdown.
And I tell you, see Jerry Youngchuck raising his fist. He loves it. I mean, they've scored it, and he's said it before. His team hasn't stopped trying, no matter what the situation is. And we've said it before. It's not the first team Bear defense, but still.
Well, I think for Mr. Ricks, the junior, for him to help notch 3 scores here in this against this East Brunswick defense, albeit that they're not the first team out there, but still in all, to score these points, I think it'll look well in the offseason anyway.
Ricks, 2-point conversion, and no flag that time.
No flag, where there should have been one.
Right, exactly. Clearly the man was bumped. Clearly the man was bumped, but the official decided, hey, let's get this game over.
Well, the score is 35-22, and you know what? Remarkably, and we've talked about this before, people tomorrow are going to open the newspaper and say, boy, Perth Amboy must have gave them a game.
Right.
Yeah.
You're right. And
nothing could be further from the truth. This game was out of reach early on.
First quarter. Well, 9 seconds remain, and so we'll begin our sign-off and say that we hope you're with us next week at Old Bridge as East Brunswick takes on Madison Central and the Spartans. East Brunswick will improve to 6-1, and Perth Amboy will go to 2-5.
And the Panthers will kick this onside kick.
Maybe they'll do that scrum approach that West Windsor tried a couple weeks ago. And I have to say, this has been the longest high school game I've been to in a long time.
Even the parents are leaving.
The mascot left at halftime.
Yeah.
So. Well, we'll see. Perth Amboy lined up, obviously, for the onside. And Tenora just drops to his knee. You know, just a crazy notion here with 6 seconds, but if Perth Amboy somehow were able to fall on that ball and score, they would have made it 35-30.
Assuming they would be good on the 2-point conversion.
Yeah, and that'll do it as, thank God. The final again here from J. Doyle Field, East Brunswick 35, Perth Amboy 22.
I'm just watching the officials go off the field.
Well, I don't know if Knoppenberger's going to get this crew again. I don't think they served anybody well.
Yeah. But, go ahead, John.
Well, that's it. I don't know. I think we've said all there needs to be said on this game. But East Brunswick improves the record, certainly stays in top shape for playoff contention. And they'll go to solidify that, that position next week at Madison Central. So for Phil Hill and Jim Allinder, I'm John Meggiolaro, saying thanks for being with us.